The driver for me is really for a person to come into full integrity with their intuition, with their higher self. Because the higher self is a part of us that is all loving, all knowing.
Welcome to the Dr. Laura Ciel show. I'm Dr. Laura Ciel, and I'm so excited about our guest today. I just have to share. I know I say this sometimes about the energy of people, but this is someone who I can't even tell you exactly how I found out about her, but through a series of curiosity, researching and looking through things and just seeing where my heart was pointing me. All of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm connected with this person and I just know I need to go see her. So I'd like to introduce to the show Marije Terluin. Thank you for being here so much, Marije.
Thank you
Especially
for
from
having me.
yeah, especially from how far away you are in Berlin,
Couple
Germany,
hours
which
away.
is, by the way, where I traveled to go see her.
Yes.
There was part of me that said on my birthday, I'm meant to go see this woman and experience what she has to offer. So I'm really excited to have you here. And I would love for you to share a little bit with the audience, Marije, a little bit more about you, your
Mhm.
journey, and what you do.
Yes. So, well, I'll just say right away what I'm doing because otherwise we're hanging in the air, not knowing. But I am a past life regressionist. Usually, when I tell people what I do, I have to say it twice because people are like, "What? What?"
Right?
Yeah, it's a
Right.
full
Like, what
mouthful. Past
exactly does
life
that mean?
regression. Yeah. Past life regression means that I am guiding people to relive a past life. That's a very short explanation of what it is. And these sessions actually are quite exponential because they're 6 hour sessions, 5 to 6 hours, sometimes even longer. And it's not just a past life regression. There is actually much more, but I don't know if I can explain now or if I explain later.
Yeah,
Uh,
say a little bit more about what
yeah.
else that is.
So the best thing for me is always just to explain what the session entails because that just shows
Yeah.
it all. But the 6 hour session basically consists of three different parts. And in the first part, I sit down with my client to talk about their current life. Because although it's called past life regression, it's actually mostly about a person's current life. The past life that shows up is always in connection to who you are now, always has a message or a teaching about something that's going on in your life right now. So the first part, we go through a person's current life. So I really know everything about them. So I can also really guide them. Second part, my client lies down on the bed that I have in my office and I guide them through a past life. Now, the interesting thing is that I do not see the past life. It's the client that sees the past life. And the beauty of this technique is that literally everybody can do this. It's really for everyone to access. We all have access to this. Even people that don't believe in reincarnation or are a little bit skeptical about it or are super believers in it, all these people around the board have the same experience, the same access. And so people see a past life, they experience it, they feel it, they might hear it, they might smell things. And it's never a random past life. It's always a
Mm.
past life with a very specific message or an understanding or to bring clarity, whatever it is. And then there's a last part to these regressions. And this is really what makes this technique that I use quite unique. Because in the very last part of the session, I ask the client's higher self or soul or true self, essence, whatever name you want to give it. I ask this part to speak through them. So they're basically giving voice to their intuition.
Mm.
And this is a very beautiful part of the session. And in that part, I first of all ask, why was this past life shown? What's here to understand? And second, I'm going to ask all the big life questions that a client has prepared for the session that they want to know about. Questions like, what is my life purpose? Why did I decide to be born to these parents or in this location or in this time? What am I here to do? Why do I keep having this specific back pain that's showing up? What's there to learn from this or this situation? How to unlock certain talents? Anything
Mm.
can be asked. Yeah, so that's basically in a nutshell what a one-on-one session is about.
Yes, and we'll go a little bit deeper into it
Yeah.
as we go through our conversation because I imagine that some people listening who've never heard of it before, there might
Mhm.
be a little bit of fear or just like
Fair enough.
No,
Fair. Yeah.
let me hear about that. So we'll go a little bit more deep into it. But what I'd also love for you to share with listeners is how did you end up doing this work? What's
Yeah.
been your journey of this is something that I would say not a lot of people know about it necessarily. I think more people are learning. Would you agree? Like it's not
Yeah, for
super
sure.
common.
Yeah.
So how did you get to this place that you practice this, that this is what part of your gift in the world?
Yeah, it was quite a journey because up until 9 years ago, I was not a spiritual person. I myself did not believe in reincarnation. I never really even considered it. I never really
Right.
even thought about it. But yeah, a lot has changed, obviously. And for me,
So
it all
people want
started.
to know what changed.
Yes, yes. Well, there was very clear signs that were right in front of me that I had to follow. And for me, that all started when I moved to Canada. My partner is Canadian, and I'm originally from Amsterdam. I moved to Canada to be with him. And yeah, that was a completely different life. The place where I lived was quite a spiritual place. So all of a sudden, I have friends that, yeah, have different thoughts about things. And this is where I think probably after 2 years, somebody gifted me the book Many Lives, Many Masters,
Mm,
which is a book by Brian Weiss. And it's the perfect first read for anyone who's new to past life regression, because in this book, Dr. Brian Weiss takes people from his own journey, which was he was completely skeptical,
mm,
uh, yeah, psychotherapist,
yeah.
to at the end of his journey being one of the biggest advocates for past life regression. And he created his own technique, different from the one I practice. And I'm reading this book and I'm completely captivated and I'm completely fascinated. And I'm really reading almost this whole book in like two days or something. But I was also really confused because I'm like,
Mm,
what? Like, is
yeah.
this
No
is
one
this
talked
real?
about this.
Yeah,
Right.
no. Like,
Yeah,
what
and
the
actually, I
hell?
must
Like,
say, being a
yeah,
psychologist, that didn't come up in any of my 6 years of
no,
training. No.
exactly. And I've never heard anyone about this. This is completely new. And so it was really in my mind, and I didn't know how to make up my mind about this topic. I talked to my husband about it. He's like, well, just sit on it for a while. He didn't know what to do about it either. But something really profound happened, and this completely changed my course from one moment to the next. So
Mm,
after reading half of this book, the next morning I'm waking up, I'm walking to the bathroom, thinking in my head, okay, what about this book? Do I believe it? Do I not believe it? What
mm,
to do with this? And this is the moment when I heard a voice outside of myself. And this voice said, you knew about reincarnation all along, and it's just time for you to remember it now.
oh, goosebumps
Oh,
all down the
yeah.
body.
Me too, actually. I get it also when I explain this. And
Wait,
it
wait, was
wasn't
it
just
scary
the
at that point?
voice, if that, huh?
Was it scary at that point?
No,
No,
it
it was
was love.
calm. Okay.
It was so beautiful. And it wasn't just the voice, it was also my whole body just switched on, like as if lightning entered my body. And I remember like, okay, I have to walk back to the bed and just sit on the bed and process this for a bit. But right away it sparked such excitement and such,
Mm,
yeah, a massive bolt of curiosity. I'm like, okay, so if this is real, then I need to know everything there is
everything.
to know about past life regression, about reincarnation, but also about spirituality
Mm,
really in general, because obviously there's this whole world out there that I know nothing about.
right.
And it was funny because the second thought I had after that was like, oh, I'm going to be one of those weirdos right now. I'm probably going to dress strange. My hairstyle might be very different. And I was thinking, well, if that's what it takes, that's what it is. Whatever. This is so strong. I have to follow this.
Wait, so give us the contrast, Mariah. What were you doing in the world previous to that?
I was a graphic designer working in Amsterdam, mostly in fashion.
Right.
In Canada, in Calgary, where I was living, it was mostly in advertising or in the beauty industry. More, yeah, very different
Yeah.
commercial, creative, which I loved
Right.
also.
Right.
Creative industry, but really nothing to do with anything therapy or spiritual
Right.
or hypnosis like
But
at
I
all.
love that. I love that you thought that your appearance and your clothing was going to
Yeah.
change.
Yes.
It's like, oh, if I go down this path.
Yeah. That it must be that I'm gonna look like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
these people. And it was a really interesting thing because pretty soon after I met one of my now very close friends, and she was super modern and super, yeah, into this time and had a beautiful look and interest in art and creativity, but was also very spiritual. And I'm like, oh, so you can actually just be yourself and also be spiritual.
Beautiful.
That was an interesting thing, but
Mm.
somehow that didn't click right
Right,
away.
right, right. It's
Yeah,
funny, some of those things that are in our head,
yeah,
right? Like that
yeah.
somehow it's because I remember in my moment
Mhm.
23 years ago, there was this feeling of at one point this book kind of jumped off the shelf and hit my leg. I picked it up. I never would have bought that book before my
Yeah.
mom had died. And I picked it up and I got the message, you need to read this. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, you know,
Mhm.
and then I'm starting to read it and I'm thinking similarly to what you're saying, this feeling of, am I going down some
Yeah.
weird woo-woo channel thing? Like, I don't know if I want to go
I gonna
disappear
be
into the,
ungrounded from now on. Like I like my groundedness, you know.
right.
I like, the modern things in the world. Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
one of the
Which
things I
can I
really
ask you what
appreciate,
book that was?
it was, do you know the psychic, the medium George Anderson? By
No,
any
actually.
chance? He's American. He's based on
Okay.
on the East Coast, and he has several books, and I'm blanking on which one that was. But what
Mm,
it was he had written a book on all of his compilation of things that he had learned in being a psychic for people whose loved ones had passed. And
okay. Yeah.
so I think the one thing that I remember that really struck me, first of all, I was just like, he's talking to people who are no longer physically here. To me, that was already like,
Is that even an option?
yeah, is that possible? But I mean, I will say I had had some experiences after my mom's death, right
Mm,
after her death, that made me go, oh, maybe I'm
mm,
not the only one, right, that's having these experiences. But I do remember there was something in there. He talked about how, from the soul's perspective on the other side, that these bodies that we're in are just
mhm.
simply these suits that
Yeah.
we use, that we wear while we're here. And then at
Mhm.
some point, the suits are done, but we continue on. And I remember just thinking, wow, that's such a different perspective of
Yeah.
what it is to be in this life right
Mhm.
now. And it did something in my brain that for some reason allowed me to see it more from a higher level, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
It didn't seem scary to me. It was
Yeah.
another curious, and I'm a very curious and open person, which you are
Mhm.
obviously as well.
Mhm.
And I think many of
Mhm.
our listeners are as well, where you're being presented with a different perspective that you had never thought of before, but there's
Yeah.
something in it that feels like it resonates, right? Like it feels like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
truth. Your description of hearing that, you had
Yeah.
no fear. You
No.
It's almost like a part of you, a part of you already did know it, but
That's the
it
thing,
was
that word
connecting.
remember, like when it said
Yeah.
it's just time to remember. And it's like, remember, but that means that I already knew it. And then it was like,
Yes, wait, wait.
and it's
Still,
often with information like this on this level, it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, somehow I already knew that.
right.
Somehow this is new information, but on some level, I already knew it.
Yeah.
And it's really what you say, that's the resonating feeling.
And so beautiful too, because I know that a lot of people that my clients, and I would imagine you would feel similarly, were very much in the left brain world, very much in the linear world, very much in that 3D world.
Yeah, in the thinking, yeah.
Right. And it's kind of like, what's over there? And it's a little bit, I don't know if the word's scary, but it's just an unknown, right?
Yeah,
But when there's something that is presented in book or in an experience or whatever it is, and it resonates with something inside of you, because that's what I
mhm,
tell people, is like, no one else is going to tell you. You have to
yeah,
feel for whether or not it resonates, if it feels true for
yeah.
you. And that's what you described in that, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, what I also see, well, for one thing that I wanted to mention
Yeah.
is because I hear so many people's life stories, which I think is such a gift, like to be able
Right.
to hear that. And to be honest, almost everyone has had spiritual experiences in their life that they feel, oh, I'm just not going to share that with anyone because they might think I'm a little bit of a weirdo, or maybe they thought, I made that up, or maybe they
Right.
think I want to be special. But it's like, no, 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 no. We all have experiences or dreams or, situations with deceased loved ones, or memories of past lives or whatever, things you can just not explain, meeting
Right.
someone, feeling like, oh, but we know each other.
Right.
Last time we saw each other, you were on a horse. It's like,
Right.
Where did that come from?
Right. Right. Right.
And then
Where
you
does
just
that
push it
come
a little
from?
bit out because it's a little bit uncomfortable and you don't know who to talk about, but we all
Right.
have them. Yeah, we all have them.
So for you, from this moment where you started,
Yeah.
I think of it as opening up, right? And a
Yeah.
remembering.
Yeah.
What was that process like to essentially leave one career and move
Yeah.
into one, which part of you was saying, am I going to be one of those weird people? How did that transition happen?
It happened very beautifully. And because of my own firsthand experiences, it wasn't just the book, but obviously also the voice, but constantly I got confirmation, constantly these synchronicities happened that showed me like, oh, I'm really doing the right thing, you know, and oh my God, this makes me feel so alive and so excited.
Mm,
So yeah, after reading these books and many books to follow, Brian Weiss, eventually Dolores Cannon, which happened to then become also my teacher. Um, and I started also trying out different sessions. I of course, experienced past life regressions. I then started doing sessions with mediums. And then I started, my psychic senses were getting stronger and stronger. And I started also doing kind of psychic ability training. And then the biggest thing really that pointed me on my path, because I never considered that I should do past life regression. I'm like, I cannot do that. You know, that's
okay,
just
so it started off as
absurd.
just curiosity
Yeah, it
around
was
it,
just
your
an opening
own,
up to
yeah.
seeing a whole new perspective, seeing the world in a new perspective, really. But then when I learned to channel my guides, the very first thing they said was like, no, no, it's great that you're loving and exploring and learning so much, but you're supposed to do past life regression. And it's this lady, Dolores Cannon, that you need to work with. And I was like, oh, okay. And they initially said, yeah, she offers this online. And you can do it online. And I'm like, okay. And then I looked it up and I saw at the time still they were live classes. I'm like, no, no, I have to go. She's from America. So I have to go to the States. I have to do these classes because this is too over my head to just do online on my computer. And, you know, so many things happened in the classes. I remember actually when I arrived in the class, it was in Arkansas, Eureka Springs, which is a wonderful place. This is also where Dolores did her work from. At
Okay.
the time, Dolores was already passed away, but she was very much there in spirit.
Mm.
I remember I had my phone on flight mode because I was flying into the States. Then I got to my motel and I turned my phone on and I had received, I think, 90 or 80 messages from people, from almost everyone I knew, even people from the past, all sending me a message like, hey, I don't know, but I was thinking of you. How are you doing? And I'm like, what? What is this?
Mm.
Like so many people. And I was like, oh yeah, it's because I'm on my timeline. I'm doing the right thing. I'm in the right time at the right place.
Wow.
You know, my aliveness is stronger probably than before. And it's, you know, all these snippets of, yeah, this is it. Keep
Wow.
going.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was a
Yeah.
pretty easy transition for you then.
Actually, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I was working as a freelance graphic designer. So for a while in the beginning, I couldn't do both.
Right.
But I was so enthusiastic about past life regression. I started talking to everyone about past life regression, to my gynecologist, like literally everyone, my dentist, like everyone I
Okay,
would
wait a minute.
visit.
How was the response initially?
Beautiful.
Hmm.
I was thinking, oh, they're probably going to think, oh, it's a little bit weird.
Let's put a
But
note in
because
her
I was so
chart.
full of it, you know, and I was so excited, that made people also very excited. And I was so
Hmm.
surprised to find out that there were so many people that also already believed in it or already had done a regression or even knew about Dolores Cannon. Like it was constantly this confirmation of people that were completely, yeah, into it and fascinated by it.
What do you
So,
feel resonated with you? What, when you look back to that point where you
yeah,
were really in it, you were really
yeah,
exploring, you were
I was
really
absorbing everything.
absorbing everything.
Yeah,
What do
completely.
you feel was the number one or maybe top two aspects of this that resonated the most with you that you want to share with the audience?
Well, for me, the biggest thing that really changed my perspective on my life, on everything, was just the understanding that this is not the only life that we've ever lived, and it's not going to be the only life. You know, after this, there is more. And
Mm.
so when you're then looking at your own life and at the purpose of it, all of a sudden you realize, oh, but there's no coincidence. And the things that are happening for me to understand something from, or to learn from, or to grow from. So when
Right.
you're seeing life through that lens, all of a sudden there is no such thing as being a victim of a certain situation or blaming or comparing. It's all, it
Mm.
becomes so much lighter and so much more joyful and so much more less serious, I would say, a
Yeah.
lot less serious, which is, yeah, it's quite a relief, you know?
That is a relief. And
Yeah,
I will speak for myself. I would imagine there are people listening similarly where it's really easy in this, let's say, life on planet Earth, this at this particular moment. It's very easy to be in some of those negative emotions,
yeah,
fear,
of course. Yeah,
like you said, that victim sense. Why does this keep happening to me? Why
yeah.
did this happen to me? Why is this person, doing this, saying this? Why am I experiencing this? It's a very, I want to say to anyone listening, don't feel bad. Like that's normal in a sense. And
Of
I don't know what
course.
your belief is, Mariah, but my belief
Yeah,
is I think it's part of our learning, our
yeah,
journey. Part of our learning journey is to move beyond that. And so when you say that lightness and that more, I can't remember your word, but what I heard was joy,
yeah,
it's there's a big shift in that. And
yeah.
people feel that energy, right? When you're
Hmm.
talking to your dentist, your gynecologist, your whoever, who maybe people who've
Anyone,
never
yeah.
even don't even know, but feeling what you're feeling, they can
Yeah,
feel. And it's a very different way of moving through the world. It's a very different way
yeah,
of moving through life,
yeah.
right? And so
And you know
even,
what was really beautiful?
yeah,
As soon as that was so funny because I remember that in the beginning, when I started saying, "Oh, I'm a past life regressionist," then somehow people all shared these spiritual experiences with me that they never shared with anyone else. Oh, well, I
same.
saw my deceased grandmother sitting on my bed, and I'm like, "Oh, well, tell me about it. That's fascinating." And then at the end, but it's like, what does that have to do with past life regression? But sure. Or, oh, I had a prophetic dream and this happened. Like people would just all of a sudden relieved to be like, "Oh, okay. So now I can also be open, you
Right.
know?"
And you made
Yeah.
it safe. There was an
Yeah.
energy around that made it safe. And I would say that's been true on my journey as well, where as I introduced it more into the coaching work that I do,
Mm-hmm.
they don't come specific, my clients don't come specifically for that. Like with you, past life regression is pretty
Yeah.
clear where we're
Yeah.
going, right?
It's out
And
there.
and
Yeah.
I'm focused more on shifting and helping people to tap into that joy and to actually be in be in that service, be in that work, be in the relationships that they really truly are
Yeah.
desiring within. And so as I've started to bring a little bit more of that language in, and I use intuition quite a lot because people are fairly comfortable with that, but there
Yeah.
is this opening that happens and it's quite beautiful. It's as if I think you and me too, where if we're comfortable with it and we're also grounded and very much in this lifetime, right? Like
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah.
I know with my clients that feels safe. Then there's this safety of being able to say, huh, I wonder about this one experience I had, or I wonder about
Yeah.
this. And when there's the sharing of that out loud and feeling safe in it,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh,
And
there
it's being
is,
normalized,
it
you
is
know?
like normalized,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So do you ever get any more, let's say more of the like, what do you do? Kind of like the pushing themselves away or and when you say
Yeah.
what you do?
Not so much, I have to say.
Beautiful.
Almost never.
That's
No. And
incredible.
and if people are feeling, of course, sometimes people are like, which is totally fine. One of the first things I say is also like, I'm really not here to convince
Yeah.
you. And just because I am a past life regressionist, of course, that says a lot about me. It says more than just my profession. It says a lot about my lifestyle in a way as well and what I believe in. But the last thing I want to do is try to convince people of then also having to believe that, because I know people have to have their own personal experiences, that feeling of safety, that
Right.
feeling of, yeah, resonance,
Yeah.
to be able to step into a path like this. So yeah, I never ever want to push it onto
Yeah.
someone. That's something I'm almost a bit allergic to, I would say.
Yeah. Me
But
too.
I'm open to questions, of course, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to bring some insights into what it does or what it means, of course.
So in the years that you have been doing this full
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
and so many people, I imagine, that you've worked with, and
Yeah.
you've had the, I want to say, opportunity gift of being able to be by someone's side as they're journeying and they're exploring and they're expanding. And
Mhm.
you hear, right? You're hearing, even though I think you mentioned earlier, you don't, it's not, you're not the one who's receiving the information. It's your client who's
I'm
receiving
just
it.
a facilitator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to make that really clear for everyone that
Yeah.
you're facilitating this process, but you're also witnessing and
Mhm.
you're hearing and you're experiencing some of what they are bringing in for their
Yeah.
learning, for their higher self. What would you say as you reflect back and you think about the many years you've been doing this?
Mhm.
If you think about the top two or three threads that you feel have been very important. So less about the specific instances, but more of the bigger picture of
Right.
if everyone knew this or everyone understood or resonated or heard or whatever the right language is, that what a different world we would.
Mm.
And what are some of those themes that you feel have been very powerful?
Yeah, that's a very beautiful and great question. And the interesting thing that I've seen with regressionists, even with Dolores Cannon, but also some of my now colleagues, is that I've noticed that each regressionist has their own field of expertise, I would
Mm.
say. Dolores called herself the researcher or reporter of lost knowledge. So she was always really interested in the past lives and civilizations that were further advanced. And she really got a lot of information, specific information about this. Happens also in my regressions, but that's for me not the driver.
Mhm.
The driver for me is really for a person to come into full integrity with their intuition, with their higher self, because the higher self is a part of us that is all loving, all knowing, and not just about you and your life plan, but really about everything in the world. And when we align to our higher self and when we listen to our intuition and live our intuition, life becomes a completely different place. And one of the things that has come out of my sessions a lot is teachings of the higher self explaining that we need to think a lot less and feel a lot more.
Oh.
And it keeps explaining that, the head is not made for making decisions. It is not made to follow through difficult situations.
Mm.
It's just, this is a literal sentence it said recently, and this is a message that comes out again and again.
Right.
It said recently, it's just a recycling station. The information you put in there, it's recycling, it's helping you, it's great for doing repetitive tasks like building a house or building a website or, things that you have to do
Taking
every
an
day.
exam, getting a
Yeah,
degree.
you're repeating what you know. But
Right.
it's terrible in foreseeing what is to come. It cannot explain to you what your purpose is. It cannot make you happy. It cannot lead you on the path of joy. It doesn't know that. Don't look for it in that direction.
Interesting. Hmm.
And you're also not here to understand everything. You're here to trust.
Mhm.
And when you
Oh, that's a big
trust,
one.
trust is a big one.
It's a
Yeah.
big
And I
one.
love that one. I love that
But
one.
the thing you said right before that, that you're not meant to know everything.
No,
So
no,
you
you
take
really
that not
because
meant to
we
know,
cannot even comprehend it.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's we're our human brain is not made to comprehend it. I actually had a session this week, and it was beautiful. My client had the question, I've always felt ever since I was 3 years old that I used to be able to hold much more knowledge than what I can in this life. And her mom even reminded her, saying that she always used to say that as a child, like, Mom, why am I so stupid now? I used to be so much smarter. And so she had a question about that, and the higher self again explained, yeah, you're not meant to hold that right now. But she lived in other dimensions where she was much further evolved, much, much more intelligent, much more spiritually connected. And she picked up on that. But the higher self says, no, it's fine for you to just be focused in this physical existence.
Right.
You don't have to be able to zoom out that much, but you do have to trust. And trust is I would say maybe the second point, the thing that the higher self explains. And what I've come to understand is that trusting yourself, trusting another person, trusting the higher self, the universe, the world, that's all the same thing.
Mm,
You cannot say, oh, but I trust that person, but I don't trust myself. Or I trust my higher self, but I don't trust myself. No, because that's all the same thing.
I
And
love
it always starts with the self. You have to
that.
start with trusting the self, and then it all flows out from the outside. And as
You
soon
know,
as you really yeah, as soon as
Yeah,
you
go
can
ahead.
really build on that, it becomes this self-perpetual flow, this spiral that goes up and up and up, that allows you also to be guided in a much stronger way. Because if you trust, you are open to receive. If you don't trust, you're literally looking down and you're trying to figure out mentally what to do.
Yeah.
And it's not the path, nobody's ever found true happiness in their calling by figuring it out,
In
because the
their
higher self
brain?
is, yeah, another thing the higher self says, if you live your life based on your thoughts, which I, by the way, also do oftentimes. I'm not saying that I'm
Oh, hey.
the absolutely not. But if you live life based on your thoughts, the higher self says you're following another person's steps. That's not your steps. And you're missing your own path if you're following the thoughts that you have, because they're often not even your thoughts. They're the thoughts that have brought in by culture or by
Right.
assumption or by
That's
expectations.
really interesting. And it also connects in with something I was thinking as you were speaking of this trust and of the brain being kind of a recycling center
Station.
is, and I'll speak for myself because, and I also know this is true with a lot of my clients, there is this weird belief that if we just learn and figure it all out, we're going to be good, right? And this is all brain stuff.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if I can just figure this out, then I'll feel safe. Then I can trust things. Then I'll be able to get where I
Yeah,
need to go. And it's
yeah,
it's such a fascinating thing, and this connects back with what you were saying about trust of self, right? And that it
yeah.
is all connected with beyond ourselves. That
Hmm.
a lot of people will, and I certainly did this for a long time, kind of look external to ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
And you identify, ooh, this person is successful in this way, let's say. And so they did XYZ. So if I
Hmm.
do XYZ, then that's where I will go. Back to what you're saying. The thoughts are
Yeah,
connected not necessarily with our own purpose, our own just way of being.
yeah.
And when you do that, see, I've been thinking a lot lately about the level of anxiety in the world right now.
Mm.
And I
Hmm.
think that we increase our level of anxiety the more that we're doing that,
Yeah,
right? If we're thinking we can figure it all out based
hmm,
on what's external to us,
yeah,
we're actually raising our level of anxiety. Speaking as
yeah.
someone who has had anxiety in her life.
Yes.
And yet, to what you were saying, as one of those gifts that you've kind of pulled out, one of those threads, is
Mm.
what I'm hearing, and I'd love to hear from you if you agree. What I'm hearing is as we build that trust in ourselves, which is a bigger trust,
Hmm.
it also allows us to trust other people, it allows us to trust the process, where we
See
are
the
in that
situation,
process.
see the path in front of us. I'm like,
Right.
oh, that's no
Like,
coincidence,
oh, curious, right?
Yeah,
That
that's what
that
it's meant.
as we shift into that, what evolves is so much different than when it's being driven
Yeah, by
primarily by that
by
mind
control or
and
by
control.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So what
sure.
I'd love to hear if you have any other thoughts on that. I just put it into different words, but I heard you saying.
Yeah, and the higher self actually says the opposite of trust is control,
Yeah.
which I also find very interesting. Yeah,
And then what about, isn't it the illusion of control? It's not
yeah,
even
also
control. Right?
completely,
Like, I think
completely.
that's where the anxiety comes from. It's like somehow we think if I just,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being a young kid and looking around, and I felt like I was an alien from the time I
Mm.
was conscious, right? And I would look
Hmm.
around because I was trying to figure out how to do it. How do you do this thing?
Yeah,
How do
yeah,
you do
yeah,
it in a way that people will accept you? How do you do it in a way, right? And
yeah,
constantly looking external to myself.
yeah,
And part of
completely.
the learning and we can go a little bit deeper into what you actually do in the process. I'm happy to share a little bit of my experience for listeners who
Yeah.
are curious. But what's interesting is going from that mode, which is highly anxiety producing and honestly doesn't allow you it externally. Look, I had people at certain points in my life externally would say, you got it all. You're
Hmm.
successful. You have like, bravo, you did all the things. But
Hmm.
inside,
Yeah.
I was dead inside. And then I didn't know that until my mom died. So there's a disconnect in you can make things happen externally.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can
You
push
can
with
you
your
can
mind.
force it, you can
Yeah.
push it, you can
Yeah.
yeah. Sure.
Which do you find that you get sometimes people coming in to see you who are very successful, yet there's something that they feel is missing? Do you get that?
Oh, all the time.
I would have
Yeah,
guessed.
all the time.
Kind of like, what else is
Completely.
there?
What is my purpose though? Like I'm doing great in the corporate world, or I'm doing great in whatever field. But I have no idea what I'm really here for. I feel like I'm here for something big, but what is it? I don't think this is it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
very.
and it's a fascinating thing because this is another one of the topics of the higher self. And that's really one of the most beautiful things coming out of a regression. It's for people to really understand more of themselves. Like all of a sudden, things that have been in their unconscious, influencing them or yeah, steering them in a certain way, comes into the conscious. They all of a sudden have a bigger understanding of where they're off balance, where they're on balance. And the higher self tells them that they're not here to fit in. They're not here to be this person or what this person wants for them to be. Look, this is who you are. Look what you've done. You've already done that. It's always really, because sometimes people say, yeah, but what if, past life shows up and it's really scary? Or what if big traumas come up? Or what if it's going to block me or intimidate me or whatever? And I have to say, there are many different regression techniques out there, all for good reason. But in QHHT, which is the technique I practice, quantum healing hypnosis technique, it's called.
Okay.
In QHHT, what I love most about it is that we leave it completely over to the person's higher self to decide whatever life it wants to show. And this way, first of all, I know that people are completely safe. I'm not saying that each life is about butterflies and rainbows.
Oh
Definitely
yes,
not.
mine definitely was not. I'll
Different
share
things
that
definitely
with
happen of intensity, but the higher self knows exactly where you are. It
you.
knows exactly what's going to motivate you, what's going to inspire you, what's going to, make you go for the next step in life, what you were actually here for all the time. And especially if you have this feeling of like, I'm not fully walking my path, then the higher self will make it very clear what it is that you're here to do. And that message that comes along with that is that you're absolutely not here to fit in. You're this person and you're here to shine this light. And these are some things that are now restricting that light. Let's work on that. Let's heal that, or let's, give you an understanding where they came from, which could be, for instance, in a past life.
Right.
And then the beauty is that some people come out of the session and they're really like, oh my God, I never thought that this could be my life purpose. Some
Mm.
people come out and they're like, I kind of knew it. I kind of expected it, but now I really know it,
Right.
And then just by that acceptance and that almost like a decision, all
Mm.
of a sudden a whole new path opens with complete clarity and certainty. And this sense of anxiety of like, oh, what am I supposed to do falls away. It really becomes this, yeah, relief of like, oh yeah, this is it, and I
It
can and I
feels
can make decisions that
and it
are
feels
aligned.
aligned. It
Yeah,
feels like it resonates.
yeah,
I would imagine I want to say this out loud because I just imagine someone might be who hasn't done this before or
yeah.
anything like this might be a little bit worried that if they explore that their whole life will change, meaning all of a sudden they're not doing this particular career path or they're not in this relationship or they're not, and that there's a that I would imagine that there might be a little fear around that. And I want to say just from my own personal experience, and then I'd love for you to share from your broader perspective all, working with so many people. My past life regression was actually I cried so much during that because it was really intense,
Yeah.
and yet there was a reason, and this is back to the higher self in retrospect, and as I integrated it with you and then on my own later, there was a reason that I needed to see that because there was a fear around speaking, really following my truth and really speaking my truth because I
Mhm.
did I basically just died in a dungeon cell. So that
Mhm.
it's not a pretty, but the weird thing is I already kind of knew that. I
Yeah.
already kind of
And
knew
that was
that
what was
I had,
holding you somewhat,
yeah, it's like, oh, you can't say anything. Don't do your thing because if you do
Yeah,
your
yeah.
thing, you will be captured and you will
Will be
be, like
punished.
you will, yeah. And
Yeah.
so I just say that because there could be a little bit of fear around first of all, that experiencing something that's, but when you're doing the process, when I was working with you, when you're doing this process, there's a part of you that knows you're not actually experiencing it in the moment. There is a part of
Yeah,
you
yeah. No,
also
you're
very
still very
present,
aware.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So even though
completely.
you're feeling it, which is, this is just fascinating.
You're not blacked out or anything like this.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're
Can
aware.
get up also if you want to.
Yes, which
That's
I
also
did.
something that, and it's all things have changed. Like past life regressions, what I understand from Dolores 20 years ago were very different. People were in a way blacked
Oh,
out and
wow.
they
Oh,
came
interesting.
out and
Oh, I
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
heard
it really
that.
has changed. Yeah, yeah. And
And
nowadays people are fully aware of
holding you.
themselves, of
Yeah.
me sitting next to them. They know that they're totally safe.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
at the same time, fully in the experience of it. And I
yeah,
think that's the
feeling
thing
those
that's
feelings.
very
Yeah.
interesting is that you have it's a both and it's not either or. And it's not let me go here and do this past life regression for the heck of it. It's
Hmm.
then bringing it back in. And I think you doing a really incredible job of helping to integrate after the session is over. But I also have to say, there's a part of, for anyone considering doing this who hasn't, there's a part of you that also is very aware during the process. And I remember, so you mentioned the process that your clients go through. So after
Yeah.
that past life regression, there's that point where you are asking questions that we have already given you that we want to ask
Mhm.
our higher selves.
Yeah.
Your higher self is responding. You are very aware, and I don't even know what to call it, your mind or kind of that like the the human conscious part of you. I don't know
Yeah.
what do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
call
The
that other
conscious mind.
okay, the
Yeah.
conscious mind is
Yeah.
very aware. And I remember I'm having a commentary over here in my conscious mind, cracking up going, what the heck? And there's actually this playful, I say playful because it was pretty wild to be hearing myself saying things that felt so true. But at
Hmm.
the same time, I'm going, oh my, from
Yeah.
so beautiful because you're bringing in many parts of who you are, and for someone who's lived so much in the left brain, having that other part. And I don't know if all of your clients do this, but I'll just share. When I heard my higher self talking, so the language was different, the
Yeah.
tone was different,
Mhm.
and I could hear it, feel it, know it, all of that. And then there was a part of me going, "Oh, listen to her." Like, listen to her. You're kind of intense today, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, back to something that you said earlier as one
Mm.
of those threads,
Mm.
one of the biggest things was stop trying to figure it all out. Just be. Look
Yeah.
for the joy. Look
Yeah.
for what's fun.
Hmm.
Look for where it resonates with that. This wasn't the exact language, but with that lighter trueness of who you are, that
Yeah.
the journey moving forward for me was one of letting you don't let go of it entirely, but not relying on
Yeah.
the brain
Yeah.
and really listening to the rest of who I am in going
Hmm.
forward. And so it's been a year and a half since I worked with you, and
Mm.
I still remember moments of things that came up, and I crack myself up because there is a part of me that I already knew some of that. Stop
Right.
it. You don't need any more degrees. You don't need to learn anymore. You have everything you need. Just go out there and speak. Just go out there and
Yeah.
write,
Speak your truth. Yeah.
which
Get into
honestly is
the
part of the
light.
reason why I started doing the podcast,
Yeah.
right? It was
Yeah.
just like you don't have to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And if you follow that path, I want to talk a little bit more about purpose. If you follow that path,
Yeah.
then everything will unfold. And even the things that maybe you think that's a hard thing, right? Where you could go into that victim stance. If you truly
Hmm.
believe that everything's working out for your highest good, which
Yeah.
in the end means the highest good of everyone, because
Yeah.
we are not separate as much as we
Nope.
think we are. Um, then there's a certain amount of,
Yeah.
you know,
Completely.
relaxing into it.
Yeah.
Purpose.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about purpose because a lot of people ask, how do I find my purpose?
Yeah.
What's
And
your
it's the number one question in a past life
okay?
regression, at
Okay.
least in my past life
Okay.
regressions. With my clients, this is really the number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that sometimes people confuse purpose with vocation, that they think, oh, it should be the job. And actually for some, but a very small percentage, it is. But for most, it absolutely isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose can be many things, and sometimes it can be very abstract. But I would say one of the most common purposes people have is to follow their joy.
I love
Literally
that.
this. And there's this quote from Bashar that I really, really love. Bashar is also a channeled being, extraterrestrial being, actually. And Bashar says, excitement is the physical translation of your higher self's frequency.
Mm.
And it's very often in regressions that before we start, people are like, oh my God, I feel so excited. And I'm like, well, that's great. That means that your higher self is right here and that it's really, excited that we're doing this.
Yeah.
And essentially, you don't have to understand everything. You don't have to figure it mentally all out. As long as you follow your excitement and your joy, you're going to be constantly in the right place at the right time. Things are going to happen. Things are going to unfold that you cannot foresee right now.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, yeah, joy comes up. A lot of people are here to bring light into the world, to literally bring light, to be antennas for a higher frequency, to be settled on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that is really interesting is that maybe it didn't happen in the beginning of my regression. So as I have grown, my regressions have grown. You can also see this in Dolores Cannon, her work, because she has written, I think, like 19 books or
Oh,
something.
wow.
And her books are just transcriptions of her regressions. So in the books, you can see how her evolution of her work was. Yeah. And I remember when, the spiritual path opened for me, and then all of a sudden people start talking about ETs. I'm like, oh, that's very North American ETs. In Europe, we don't believe in it. But then my clients started seeing ET past lives, and I was like, holy shit, okay. And I start to understand more about it. Then I do a regression myself, and I see in a past life where I was a completely different being on a different planet, also even an ET on this planet. And so all of a sudden, the ET topic opens up. And for the last, I don't know, maybe 4 years, I have a lot of clients that haven't had so many lifetimes on planet Earth, have mostly actually lived on other planets. Now, for people that are new to this topic, I know this might be, next level, which is totally fine. Take what you like. If it's too much, just put it aside, because
Well,
that's what I
you
think.
yourself said that in your journey,
Yeah,
it's expanded for you. So it's
for
not like
sure.
you don't have to accept everything the
But
first time.
the beautiful thing is that, I have a lot of clients that literally say, I just do not get why it's so dark here. I do not get all this heavy stuff, the density, the violence, the hate, the fear.
Mhm.
I've never really been able to fit in with people. I don't really understand so much of how this social thing works. Often these people also have had bouts of depression, sometimes even suicidal, and they're really like, I don't feel at home here. I don't think I belong here. But the beautiful thing is then they do a past life regression, then they see a past life where they've lived in a completely different kind of civilization, in a completely different life form, with a completely different structure of being,
Right.
completely different, being, I guess.
Yeah.
And usually these life forms are further evolved than us, not just technologically, but spiritually, much, much further evolved. I'm not saying all ETs are much further evolved,
Yeah.
but in general, we're a little bit behind on the evolutional
Yeah.
scale. And so there's a lot of, very, very beautiful, ET beings that have incarnated into Earth. And so then in the regression, we find out, okay, have they lived on Earth before? Like, why did they chose to make such a drastic step to come into an evolution that is, not forward, but backwards?
Right.
And they all hear the same answer. It's that they are here to help, lighten the frequency, to help bring the light, to help spread the love, to help create unity between different people, for people to realize that they're not all separate, but that
Yeah.
we're all in
Yeah.
contact with each other, that we're all in union with each other.
Yeah.
And this is a very beautiful process, because then people come out and they realize, okay, I am supposed to be here, and I am supposed to just really be myself because I shouldn't fit in too much here. I'm actually here to make a
Oh,
difference, to bring light, to
that's,
trust and to bring love. And that's so inspirational. I would say maybe even a third of my sessions are these kind of sessions.
I would not be surprised if that percentage increases in the next few
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
Given my own, when I tap into, I mean, I'm definitely one of those people who felt like I was an alien from the time I was a little
yeah.
kid. Like,
You even
what,
mentioned that earlier in yeah.
the heck? Why did I get dropped onto this planet?
Right.
You know? And what is going on? Because, and I know, and this is like this, if you're still listening, amazing. Because,
Yeah,
I mean, the more that I talk about it, the more that I meet people who feel very similarly. And
yeah.
I really didn't understand why I was in this form. And through the process that I went through with you, but also through a lot of other things that I have done, what you just said, just brought goosebumps all over my body because
Mm.
I do believe, and I also have been meeting these people too more in the
Okay.
last couple of years.
Yeah, no coincidence there.
No
Yeah,
coincidence.
yeah.
So I really have felt that I work in other dimensions, and I had a lot of connections that felt very beautiful, like
Mhm,
love highest frequency, just so, and the contrast for what was happening here was just so
mhm.
confusing in a lot of ways. But
Yeah,
through the work that I've done, including the work with you, is that recognition, that realization that, and this makes me almost want to cry
mm,
because I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. I'm not meant to fit in
mhm.
to something here.
Yeah,
That's not the path.
mhm.
The path is to be in my purpose, in my higher self, however you want to say it. Follow that,
Yeah.
follow the
Follow,
excitement, follow the
yeah.
joy,
Follow the integrity.
follow the integrity,
Yeah.
because there's an aspect of why I'm here that is meant to embody some of the energy of love, the energy of whatever, acceptance,
Mhm.
union, connection, that those types of energies. And I really believe that there are a lot more people that are going to recognize that that's part of their purpose,
Yeah.
which is interesting because, and I want to underline this doesn't mean that you check out of life in whatever your career is and whatever your relationship, whatever it doesn't mean that you check out, but you're
Mhm.
just opening up to that excitement, to that joy. You're opening up because then all of a sudden the synchronicities of experiences, people, relationships, and opportunities to serve,
Mhm.
they start to shift and change and open up a little bit more, the more that you are open up. So how it
Yeah.
gets expressed might look a little bit differently as the journey goes along, but the heart of it is has always been there.
Yeah. And it's always love.
Yeah. And
It's
it's all,
always love. And as soon as you realize that, and as soon as you really stand behind that, the impact that you have on your own life, on your environment, yeah, just explodes. It ripples out into other people's life that you don't even know. That's
right.
something the higher self also says, that people have no idea how powerful they are. And they have no idea how much the light that they bring is spreading in all directions.
Mm.
And that's also an interesting thing that you mentioned about changing jobs. Sure, for some people that's the case, but many people can stay in their job, and any job can also be a spiritual job or an
Yes.
intuitive job, as long as you bring your higher self along with you, as
Yeah.
long as you do follow your intuition and you do, step out of maybe the old role self and become a little bit more your true self, or show a little bit more, or yeah, speak a little bit more of what is happening or alive in you or
Mm.
inspiring you. So
Yeah.
any path is the right path.
And as more of us are doing that, we're just co-creating an even
Yeah.
more beautiful world.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I appreciate the work you're doing, Marije. I think
Mm.
it's incredible. It's, look, if I had learned about what you did 25 years ago, I'd be like, what?
Right.
But you know what?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that I mean, you mentioned that I think you mentioned to me before we started recording, you mentioned that
Mhm.
people who don't believe do work with you.
Also, yeah.
Yes.
They're like, yeah, no, I don't really believe in it. But I'm curious and I just want to see. And sometimes it's an interesting thing because sometimes these are just really successful people or really like scientific people,
Mhm.
people that have made a lot of progress in their lives, have made a lot of steps, because these are usually the people that are really on the leading edge of curiosity. They really do take the next step to see what is going to influence them or what's going to make, an impact in their life. And they have the same experiences as people that are full believers of past life regression. It doesn't matter.
Yes,
And as I
I
mentioned
think that's
before,
fascinating.
it's getting easier and easier for people to tap into their past life, to hear and feel their intuition, because there are so many people that are on the planet, and the planet's frequency therefore is also being affected.
Mhm.
The frequency is getting higher. Nevertheless, there's a lot of, upheaval going on, but it's
Yeah,
also because the frequency is getting more
right,
intense.
right. We're no
And
longer
therefore,
settling for the way it was,
no, no, things really do
but there is
have
a
to.
transition.
Yeah, yeah, and that can be sometimes very ugly too.
Yeah.
But the thing in regressions is, like I said, 20 years ago, people, like what Dolores described in early years of her work, people really, because she did it even, I think, for 50 or 60 years.
Wow.
But people would be completely blacked out coming out of a regression, not remembering anything. And nowadays, people can be in two places at the same
Mhm.
time. So they can be aware of themselves, they can be aware of a past life. And what I love about this is that people, like you just mentioned, people hear what their higher self says. They feel what it feels like when the higher self speaks to them. And I think one of the biggest gifts is when I receive an email or I run into a client or whatever, and they tell me that they're in connection with their higher self every day, ever since the past life regression. They now know what that is like, and they know that they can ask questions also when they're by themselves, and
Right,
because of the experience, they acknowledge it and they trust it. And with this trust, again, this connection gets stronger and stronger, and you know that you'll always be supported, and you know that you're never really alone.
right,
So this is something that I love most, because people generally only need one session. It's not like you have to keep
right,
coming back and find out more and find out more. It's really just for you, for this thing to click, like, okay, this is my intuition. This is my path. And
mhm,
now I can just keep, yeah, in daily dialogue with this part,
right.
and alongside go for it.
I love that. I love how you call yourself a facilitator and that it's not something that someone has to rely on ongoing, that you're really helping people to connect with a higher part of who they are, and that we all have access to that. And look, sometimes we need support along the way, but we don't need to rely on someone else. We have it. That's part of the trust piece, right?
Yeah,
Trusting
it
in
sounds cliche, but
yourself.
it's all within, of course.
It's all
Nothing is
within.
nothing is outside, nothing is without. It's all within. And it's a wonderful thing that in these sessions, therefore, yeah, you come in touch with that. And I know exactly when the higher self speaks or when it's still a little bit the personality. Because although the higher self can sound different, the voices change of people, the tonation changes, sometimes it can get even very robotic. Um, but the messages are the same, and they're the
Yeah.
same for each person, really.
Yeah.
And of course, and it's an interesting thing because the higher self can be reached also on different levels.
Hmm.
And I almost see it as a triangle, like a pyramid. And in the highest level, it's just oneness. It's oneness with all. And sometimes people reach that part, and it's crazy. Sometimes it's really hard then to keep the conversation going because it's so abstract and it's so absolute and it's so,
Yeah.
yeah, divine oneness.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I say, oh, this person really wants to know, because the higher self talks about the client as in the third person.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's also
That,
something like,
that's what
oh, well,
makes me
he or
laugh.
she, yeah.
I
So I know,
remember
like,
this.
okay,
She needs to remember. Da, 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 da. I think my hand was doing this at one point. It's like, she needs to remember that this is what's
right,
important. She needs to. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
okay, wow.
yeah,
But what's interesting is that you also experience the part of you, which is also the part of all of us, but the part of you, your higher self, is not caught up in any of the human emotions at all.
no, no,
And
none
that
of them.
is so interestingly powerful when
Yeah.
there's a part of you that's witnessing that and you're hearing it at the same time. So
Hmm. And
if
it has no
anyone's
emotions, yet it's
yeah,
complete loving.
Yeah, just
which sounds to
and
the human
matter of
mind maybe
fact.
contradicting. There's no emotions at all, but the emotions are actually connected to planet Earth. Because if also people visit past lives in or simultaneous lives, or future lives, that happens. If they're in different planets in different dimensions, usually they do not experience emotions because emotions are a human experience. And so it's also an interesting thing. And the higher self has no emotions in that way. It's not affected by that.
Yeah, I think of
Just
it as
speak
very matter of
thought.
fact.
Yeah, yeah. It's very matter of fact. It's very neutral also.
Right. So
Yeah.
if anyone's curious, we're definitely going to drop your links on how they can reach out to you um, on the show notes. But I want to ask you before we close, I want to ask you if just to tap in if there's any particular message that you'd like to leave with listeners today that we haven't already covered.
Yeah, follow your heart.
Mm.
Don't follow the rules. Don't follow what you think you have to follow because your head has made up its mind, but always follow your heart. And the
Mm.
more you do that, the more proof you get that you're on the right way. And it's really this path of trust. You have to invest in it. You have to sometimes be a little bit courageous to be like, okay, I'm just going to try it. And sometimes these changes are very, very small. Usually the higher self says it's this tiny little domino stone that you have to even just switch or turn. And then there's bigger stones and bigger stones behind it that you don't have to do anything for, but it just all
Mm.
flows into alignment. It's just a tiny
Mm.
little change and it goes. But
I
it
love
all
that. And you don't have to have it all figured out, and you don't have to know what all
absolutely
those
not.
others are. That's the other
Yeah.
piece of it, right?
Yeah, 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 absolutely
Beautiful.
not. And it's actually an interesting thing because sometimes the higher self doesn't even give the full picture. Like people
Right.
have the question and says, "Well,
Oh,
this is the
yeah.
first part of that picture. Go for it. As soon as you do, the second part will come into
Yeah.
focus. But first, we need to see that the higher self speaks in we also.
Yeah. Yeah.
First, we need to see that you're going to take that first step, and
Yeah,
then the
so
next.
so we will say if you're thinking you're going to go and work with Marije and have the entire journey mapped out, probably not going to happen. You're not going to, but you will get what you need in order to be at the this step in the journey. And
Yeah,
I think that that's so incredibly beautiful. And I'm really grateful for the work that you're doing in the world, Marije. And I'm really grateful that I listened to my intuition and jumped on a plane and went to Berlin in the
crazy,
middle of winter for
crazy.
my birthday.
Yeah, and to be honest, there's QHHT past life regressionists all over the world.
Right,
They're really
right.
all over the. One thing that is with QHHT, they do not offer online sessions, so it has to be done in person. The only thing that I do offer online actually is group regressions, so group workshops, which work slightly different, but are also very, very potent to do it in a group because somehow the group dynamic also strengthens people's experience.
Mm.
So that is something I do offer online. And otherwise, yeah, QHHT, there's many practitioners. It's from the States. So there's loads of practitioners in the States also.
So if you're curious, you can check out either Marije or just check out QHHT and look for someone who's practicing in your area. But
Mhm.
Marije, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us about your journey,
Yeah.
what you do, and I'm excited for where humanity is going. I'm
Mhm.
someone who's even though there's a lot of heartache, there's a lot of negative right now. I'm very excited, and I think that part of that where we're going collectively really does have to do with tapping into more of who we are, not just our consciousness, not just our brain, not just
Not
our
just our us followers or
followers, right?
yeah,
And my hope is that however anyone does this, that to be able to tap into that excitement, to that joy, to really being in who you are is such a gift for you, but it's a gift for everyone
yeah.
around you. So thank you, Marije, for being here and
Yes.
sharing a little bit of your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to share and to
Love
yeah, to
it.
give some insights. It was really
Yes.
lovely.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.